الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له من يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده ولا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Now we're in the blessed month of Sha'ban, and in under a month, in less than 4 weeks or so, inshallah, we're going to enter the blessed month of Ramadan. Now for those who have not already started to prepare for this blessed month, in the last month of Rajab, then it's still not too late to prepare for Ramadan. So the reason why we're here today, because we've got 4 weeks, approximately 30 days to still get ready for those who have not already prepared themselves. Mentally ready themselves, spiritually not ready themselves. But it's not too late. You see, Ramadan, like many things in life that are of significance, you need to prepare in advance. Like some of the students here today, the children, maybe you have exams coming up, you have GCSEs. You don't just turn up to the exam hall without an adequate amount of preparation. You spend months, years preparing for your GCSEs or end of year exams. Anyone like Brother Usman, he's a boxer, he doesn't just turn up on fight night without preparing. He trains. He spends months in the gym, sparring, etc., all these things. So Ramadan is no different. In fact, Ramadan is more important than your GCSEs. It's more important than any academic qualification or any Olympic gold medal. Ramadan is the most important month, or should be one of the most important months of our times, of our lives in the year. But to understand the significance of Ramadan and the value it should have, I'm going to use an example taught to us by our teacher, Sheikh Ahmed Al-Bagh, and he uses the simile of, imagine if you were to give somebody a gift, a bouquet of flowers, consisting of 30 flowers in the bouquet, or if you want to give somebody a cake, consisting of 30 slices in this cake. Now, if you're like me, who cannot cook to save my life, you go and buy a nice cake for somebody. But imagine if you were to give somebody this gift of flowers or a cake, and the recipient, the person you give it to, takes the flowers, throws it on the floor, and then tramples all over them. Or if they take the cake and throw it on the floor and step all over the cake. How would you feel? You certainly wouldn't be pleased. You feel rejected, sad, amongst many other negative emotions would stir up. So if this is something as simple as a bouquet of flowers or a cake, we've been given the gift of Ramadan by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But people like myself who have been guilty of this, who do not appreciate this gift, who misuse the gift, who neglect the gift, how do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would feel if we waste this opportunity of a lifetime? Ramadan, like life, is a gift. Now we know, fortunately, the whole purpose of life. The reason why we were born was to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. So life has an objective, it has a purpose. Likewise, Ramadan has a purpose, it has an objective. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for some people, but Ramadan, no, the objective of Ramadan is not to fast, it's not to starve yourselves, more specifically. It's not to lose weight. It's not even to pray, strictly speaking. You see, the Quranic verse I used in the opening part of this bayan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us why He's given Ramadan to us, or why specifically He's given fasting, should I say. You see, fasting has one objective, and one objective only. And that objective is to attain Taqwa, is to attain piety, if you want to call it in English, or call it God consciousness in English, call it what you wish. But taqwa is the aim of the game, so to speak. It's the objective of fasting, it's the whole purpose of Ramadan. I'm going to use another analogy that our teacher, Sheikh Ahmed Al-Bagh, teaches us, and it's to help us understand how fasting, how taqwa, how the prayer, how all these things fit in together, because they do have a relationship. So they say that Ramadan is like an ocean. Ramadan is an ocean. So I'm going to just give you the analogy first, and then we can perhaps look into it a bit further. Ramadan is an ocean. To fast is to dive in the ocean. To swim is to worship. To seek the pearl at the bottom is to attain taqwa. I'll say that again for those that perhaps missed it. Ramadan is the ocean. To dive in the ocean is fasting. To swim is to worship. And to attain taqwa is to reach the pearl. Now the pearl is the jewel of the ocean, as they call it, for anyone who's into marinery or these kind of things. The pearl is the jewel of the ocean. It's like the crown, the natural treasure of the ocean. Let's just think about this. Ramadan comes and goes for all of us. Alhamdulillah, we're still here. And inshallah, this Ramadan will not be the final Ramadan, but it comes and goes. Now, we have a choice. Either we can stand and watch the ocean, we can watch it come and go, like sometimes you see the tide comes and goes, or we can capitalize on it. We can make the most of this ocean. Okay, let's say we go into the water. What do most people do? They don't fast, but they do starve. They don't eat or drink in the daytime hours. They perhaps avoid marital relations in the daytime hours, which is good. Alhamdulillah, at least there's something going on. There's a fasting of the stomach, which is fine. But do most people dive in the ocean? Or are they merely swimming on the surface? Because if you think about it, anyone who's gone swimming, what's the only part of the body that's in constant contact with water? It's the torso. It's not the hands. The hands are splashing up and down. It's not the feet. They're splashing up and down. It's not the mouth or the eyes or the ears. Because you see these swimmers, they turn their face to have a breath when they're swimming. The only part that's in constant contact with the water is the torso or the stomach region. So for most people, they're under this misconception or this misunderstanding that fasting is just not to eat and drink. Whereas in fact, if a person dives, you look at a person diving, the whole body is covered with the water. The whole body, the 7 organs primarily in this case, are getting the benefits of the water. The water touches everything. That's what it means to fast. The whole 7 organs altogether are fasting, not starving. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, he said that the fasting should be really the fasting of the heart, not fasting of the stomach. Meaning, for anyone who has done the course of self-purification, the fasting of the heart is done by the fasting of the 7 organs together. So we have to understand that fasting is not to just simply be hungry or thirsty, whilst we can go out and slander people, we can backbite and say unnecessary things, we can harm people with our hands and go to unlawful places. This is not fasting, I'm afraid. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but sometimes we all need a reality check. So then what do you do when you're in a state of fasting? Once you've dived in the water, we don't just stay still. We don't stand there and look around. What do divers do? They swim. They go somewhere. And that is worship. Now worship could be obviously the 5 obligatory prayers. It could be supererogatory prayers like the Nafil prayer. It could be zikr. It could be reciting the Quran. It could be tasbih. It could be so many different things. But worship allows you to actually move forward. So you're not standing still. You have to go somewhere with this. Have a purpose of being in the water. Being in a state of fasting makes the worship that much easier. And what's the direction? Where are we heading towards when we swim? Towards the pearl. There's a destination in mind to attain one thing, and that is taqwa. Again, piety or God consciousness, call it what you wish. So you see, Ramadan is a gift because we, inshallah, in about 4 weeks, this ocean will come before us. Now, we can choose what to do with it. Either we can treat it like any other previous Ramadan and just not eat and drink and then be the same thing after 30 days, or we can choose to take our taqwa to the next level. And alhamdulillah, the Mashaykh and our teacher has given a systematic structure of how to attain taqwa or how to go to the next level. And there is a course of self-purification, or specifically for this, there are spiritual fasts which people can do, brothers and sisters alike. But that's entirely up to us. Do we want to make the most of this Ramadan, or do you want to treat it like any other Ramadan in the past and just come to the mosque, play Salat al-Tarawih, go home and not eat or drink the next day? Or do we want to actually fulfill the whole purpose of it? Because if a person has not attained any taqwa, then they haven't met the objective of fasting. It hasn't been done. Just like you go to work, why do you go to work? To get paid. If you're going to work and not being paid, why go to work? I mean, there may be other reasons why people go to work. Maybe they really enjoy it and they will work for free. But the point is, you get paid. That's why you do something. You go to the gym to become healthy and fitter. That's why you do something. Well, fasting is no different. You have something in mind. You want to get taqwa, then that's why we fast. You see, fasting is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And it's actually the 4th pillar. Now, Imam al-Secondary, in his book, The Refinements of the Souls, he defined this pillar as the pillar of discipline and the pillar of the basis of striving. The basis of any mujahidah comes from fasting. And anyone who's done the spiritual fast and who has gone through that 30-day process can testify to this. It certainly is a pillar of restraint. It's a pillar of disciplining yourself, disciplining the 7 organs. Now, most people, even if they've just done the fasting of the stomach, they can tell you maybe day 1 of fasting, day 2 of fasting, you do feel the hunger, maybe feel the thirst if it's warm. But after that, the pain goes away. You don't really feel it. Well, the same thing is with the tongue, the ears, the eyes, the genitals, the feet, and the other organs. You see, if we do not treat this Ramadan like our last Ramadan, then we fall into the danger of repeating our mistakes from previous years. Albert Einstein was once asked his definition of insanity, and he said insanity is doing the same thing again and again, but expecting different results. So you have to ask yourself this rhetorical question that, what have you achieved in previous Ramadans? What level of taqwa are you on now? I don't want to know the answer. That's a question for yourselves to ask and for me to ask myself, because I'm guilty of this. What have we done in the previous periods of 30 days? Have we gone that much closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have we gone that much closer to the sunnah? Are we any more compassionate towards creation? Are we any more in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Ask yourself these 4 questions, because these are the 4 signs of taqwa. These are the 4 signs, not 1 but 4. I'm hoping this Ramadan, all of us here, everyone watching online, we will become that much more pious, we will attain that much more taqwa. Even if it's 1 level, that's fine, alhamdulillah, that's good. But don't settle for where you are now. Don't try to be the same person you are now as you will be in approximately 2 months' time by the end of Eid, inshallah. You see, Ramadan is about waking up. I'm speaking literally waking up and metaphorically waking up. Literally, we wake up in the middle of the night, when we will all be sleeping. You wake up to eat, and then you wake up, you stay awake to pray, and some of us go back to sleep, some stay awake. But the fact is, you wake up. Physically, you do wake up, and people in your household wake up. But metaphorically, it's about waking up the heart, waking up the organs. So you can see now, Ramadan is an opportunity when these things, when perhaps you would struggle to wake up for Fajr, it becomes that much easier because everyone in the house is waking up. You can smell the cooking perhaps, you can hear the noises in the house, and it makes it that much easier to wake up and struggle against the self. It's about eating less food in the evening as well. Well, it should be anyway, but knowing people of our culture, we eat more fried food and more unhealthy food. But it's about reducing the food intake. It should be. So if you lose weight, that's not the objective, like I said, but it's just a side product. Alhamdulillah, you lose weight, you feel healthier, you feel good, you look good. But besides the outer signs of fasting, like losing weight, we should be focused on the inner aspects that can be attained, such as rahmah, such as forbearance, amongst many other prophetic inner characteristics we can adopt. For example, there was a Jew at the time, the Prophet ﷺ, and he was from Yemen. Now, his father was a rabbi, so he's a well-educated man, of course. Now, his father had taught this Jew the signs of the final prophet and the signs that will come leading to it and the signs of the actual prophet themselves. This Jew, when he heard about the coming of the Messenger ﷺ, he traveled from Yemen to meet the Prophet ﷺ, and upon meeting him, he actually said something very bad. He said it to the Prophet ﷺ's face, to which the Prophet ﷺ, he replied in a positive manner. He just smiled. Now, if that was me and you, if somebody swears at us or says something bad, God knows what we would do. But the fact is, this Jew said to the Prophet ﷺ afterwards, he said, before I met you today, I saw all the characteristics of a prophet of God, all except one. That one was forbearance, to return a wrong with a right. But he said, now I've seen this characteristic, he became Muslim, he did Shahada. So the characteristic I'm giving you an example of is forbearance. the ability to return a wrong with a right. Now, it's easier said than done, but it can be done. I'll give you an example. Once when I was in high school, I was fasting and another Muslim boy, I must have been about 13, 14, he said something very bad to me. And at the time, I didn't know this hadith. So he said something very bad. And I said, brother, I'm fasting. So what does he do? He repeats it again. I said, brother, I'm fasting. And then what does he do? He says something even worse. I said, listen, say that thing to me again after Eid, and then you will see. Now, please don't do this, by the way. I'm just giving an example. This is not forbearance. Anyway, I said, okay, after Eid, okay, we'll see. So Ramadan went, Eid went, and funnily enough, I saw the same brother in the same place. We just bumped into one another. I said, you okay? He said, yeah. He goes, what was that thing you were saying to me before? Anyway, he ran away. But the point is, don't do this. This is just a real life example. But had I known this hadith before, maybe I could have learned forbearance before. So you see, now we know what fasting is and the objective of fasting. The question is, well, how do we fast? Well, I've already mentioned the spiritual fasting that a person can do. You see, the spiritual fasts, for those who have done it, you can obviously tell from your experience the benefits of it more than me. I mean, I've done it, alhamdulillah, and people have been doing it here much longer than me, and you can testify to the advantages and the benefits. It's all about waking up the organs. The 7 organs have a purpose. The 7 organs have a purpose. Now, you can either do good or bad with the 7 organs. You see, there was once, it's not really a tale, it's a true story. There was the patient and a doctor. Now, the patient believed in God. The doctor didn't believe in God. So the patient asked the doctor with his PhD, he asked, can I ask, doctor, what's the function of the kidney? He says, well, it's to filter the blood and take out urea and other chemicals. He said, okay, what's the function of the lungs? He said, well, it's to remove carbon dioxide and absorb oxygen into the blood. And he went through different organs. So he explained each organ has a function. He said, so you're telling me, doctor, every organ in the body has a function. But when the organs are combined in a human body, they have no function? They have no purpose? The doctor obviously went quiet because he knew he was proven wrong. The point he was trying to make was the organs have a function. And when they are combined together, when they are doing the job they were built for, and that its purpose is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you feel a sense of peace. You feel a sense of completion. You feel a sense of satisfaction. Because you know you are doing what you were made to do. Now, when I was in university, we studied how to design buildings, and there was a 19th century concept of form and function. Perhaps you've heard of it, form and function, meaning after the 19th century, architects and engineers, when they designed a building, they first asked themselves, what's the function of the building? Because the function of the building dictates how the building will look. So for example, you have a warehouse, you go inside a warehouse, it looks completely different to a set of office blocks or a house, because the function is different. The same thing is with the organs, the physical organ and the spiritual organ. For example, the tongue is designed in such a way that it was made to speak the truth. It was made to speak good things. It wasn't made to tell lies and slander and backbite and swear and all these things. So form follows function in one way. So the spiritual organs have a form and they have a function that they should be used for. So another thing we can do in the blessing of Ramadan to attain Taqwa is increase our worship. So now, going back to the analogy, once we're in a state of submergence in the water, what worship can we do? Well, first of all, coming to gatherings like this will certainly help. So this is a good sign in itself. Now, reciting the Quran more in the blessed month obviously has a reward. Imam Ali radiallahu anhu, he explains in fact, Imam Haddad in the Book of Assistance, he explains some of the rewards of just reciting the Quran. Now, Imam Ali radiallahu anhu said that for every letter of the Holy Quran you recite, when you're in a state of wudu and when you're in the prayer, every letter has a reward of 100 good deeds. Every single letter. Not Quranic verse, not word, letter is 100 good deeds worth. He went on to say that if you are in a state of wudu and you're not in a state of prayer but still reciting the Quran, every letter has the reward of 25 good deeds. He went even further to say, if you are not in a state of wudu and you're still reciting the Quran, you get 10 good deeds for every letter. Now, I may be a math teacher, but even I cannot do the maths for Surah Fatiha in my head. How many good deeds is that equivalent to when you're in a state of wudu or not in wudu? But the point he's trying to make is that reciting the Quran has so many benefits in this life and the afterlife. Now, luckily for the children here, this year, your half term will fall in Ramadan. So you will have 9 days, no school. So start to plan now, how much worship can you do in the 9 days? Because I know some of the children, they make excuses or they're busy with studies and these things, but you're going to have 9 days off. So there's no excuse not to recite that much more Quran. There's no excuse not to do that much more worship in the blessed month. If you want to do zikr, that's good. Now, alhamdulillah, afterwards, we're going to have an opportunity to do collective zikr. So, and when I say zikr, I do mean zikr of the tongue and the heart. So perhaps do this. But ask yourself, what can you do in the 9 days? Because there are plenty of people here that work. You ask the adults, they may not get 9 days off work to devote themselves purely to this blessed month. Because in those 9 days, you don't know, you may attain taqwa. That could be it. That could be the game changer, the life changer for you. That could be it. If you read any supererogatory prayer, or let's say a nafil prayer, in the blessed month of Ramadan, Imam al-Haddad, again in the Book of Assistance, teaches us that a nafil prayer, a supererogatory prayer, has the equal reward of a fard prayer. So like, let's say for example, now we had the Maghrib Jamaat, we read the 3 fards in the Jamaat, some of you read the 2 sunnah, some of you read the 2 nafil at the end. But in Ramadan, those 2 nafil have the same reward as the fard itself. So if you have the time in Ramadan, read as much as you can. I'm not going to tell you how much, but read as much as you can. You see, all these things, all these acts of worship, they have a purpose. Now, one of the purposes is, well, to explain the purpose, if you look at the Arabic word of taqwa, now, there's a dictionary in the corner here, an English-Arabic dictionary, which we use when studying with our teacher, and I have a copy, and I looked at the root word of taqwa. Now, the root word of taqwa is waqaya, which one of the meanings in English is a protection. It's a shield. Now, what's a shield used for? It's to protect you from some form of harm, whether it's a physical harm, but in this case, it protects you from spiritual harm. It could even protect you from physical harm. It could do. But the point I'm trying to make is that taqwa or piety protects the believer in this life and the next. We know that on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, there's a hadith which I'm going to paraphrase. A person who fasts properly, when I say fast, you understand now what I mean by fasting. A person that fasts on that last day, the fast itself will come forward and testify and defend the believer. The fast itself will come forth on the Yawm al-Qiyamah when all of us will have nobody to help us, no clothes, nothing. The fast itself will come forth and say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, this person fasted for your sake and he restrained himself or refrained himself from committing sin. That's the power of one fast. If done correctly, if done with the right intentions. And that's on the Yawm al-Qiyamah. Even in this life, I'll pick the tongue for example. If you choose the organ of the tongue and do the spiritual fast of the tongue, you shouldn't be speaking excessively. You shouldn't speak in just, gossip and all these useless things. No, reduce your speech. Now ask yourself, how many times have you said something to somebody and then you end up getting in trouble? And you say, why on earth did I just say that? I've done it, I'm guilty of this. And this is a very simple example, but that's just one example. So we understand fasting and getting taqwa is a shield. It's a protection in this life and the next. So the quality and the quantity of your worship should increase. Both the quality and the quantity. Because if your prayer is the same after Eid as it is before Ramadan, then there's something perhaps missing, maybe something you missed. If your presence in the prayer isn't the same, then it's something you missed. Now, for anybody who sat last year's itikaf, can I just have a raise of hands? Was anyone here do last year's itikaf program in Bolton for the spiritual retreat? Yeah, so a couple of people, mashallah. Now, I did this retreat, not in Ramadan, I did it in August last year. And alhamdulillah, there's another retreat which the brother will announce at the end. This spiritual retreat will help you improve your khushu in the prayer. It will help your presence in the prayer. Now, I don't know when it is, but I know it's in Bradford. Is that correct? In Bradford, coming soon. So, if you have time, I do highly suggest you go to this retreat. And if it's before Ramadan, even better, because you'll be better equipped when Ramadan arrives. Because if your state in the prayer is the same as it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago, then there's something missing. There has to be some progress in the prayer, not just with the tajweed. I'm not speaking about the outer sciences. I'm talking the inner state of the believer, the inner state of the worshipper. It should not be the same. It should not be the same. It should be on another level. It should have improved. And I can honestly say, from personal experience, after attending these retreats, it certainly helps. It makes the prayer that much more pleasurable. I'm not going to go into the details purely because of the time when it's 9 o'clock and I'm aware. But if you have any questions about the retreat, please speak to the brothers who are far more qualified and experienced than myself. But that's one option. And it's a very good option. So, again, I've presented many options. The praying, the retreat, reciting the Quran, that much more. Now, has anybody heard of Alfred Hitchcock? He's a Hollywood director. I see some people nodding. Alfred Hitchcock, I think he's passed away now. He was a famous Hollywood director. The reason why I mention him because of his work ethic. Now, anyone who studies the art of filmography or video making, you see, people don't know this, but I actually prefer to be behind the camera than in front of the camera. And for a while, I've been looking at the art of filmmaking, editing, and lighting, and all these things. It's just something I enjoy. But Alfred Hitchcock, if you ever look at his approach to making a movie, it's actually very interesting. You see, Alfred Hitchcock, what he would do before the movie was scheduled to be shot, he would spend months mastering every little thing that's going to be on the set, from the lighting, the audio, the costume design, the dialogue. He would master every little thing and make sure everything was just perfect the way he wanted it to happen. So when the day of shooting started, he had no concerns, no stress. He would sit back in his chair, and the cast would say he was so relaxed he sometimes fell asleep while the movie was being shot. And he was the director. Now, anyone who knows anything about film shooting, if you look at the behind the scenes, the director is the most active person, the most busiest person they are. They're the most stressed as well because there's so much going on and it's all on their head. But what he did was, before the film even started, he put so much work in that when the time came, he could relax and everything would work like clockwork. And that's something as negligible as a movie. So how should we treat something more valuable like Ramadan? Shouldn't we be busy now getting ready for this blessed month? Because a movie is only 90 minutes. Well, plenty of times the Ustad have used the analogy of a movie and relate that to our life, because our life is like a movie. It's going to be played back on the Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's inevitable. So shouldn't we prepare for the movie of our lives? When it's going to be played back, inshallah, when the Ramadan starts, we should be in a position, and I say we, specifically myself, because I am the most guilty person in this room and online. Shouldn't we be preparing for Ramadan in a similar fashion? So when the first day of Ramadan comes, we are that much mentally prepared, we are spiritually prepared, even physically prepared. So ask yourself, do you want to make this easy for yourself or make it hard for yourself? Like anything in life, if you make it easy, if you want to make it easy, you'll make it easy for yourself. If you want to make it difficult, you make it difficult for yourself. So ask yourself, which of the two do you prefer? So ultimately, like I said at the start, Ramadan is a gift, just like life is a gift. And this is a gift of a lifetime. It's a gift where you can attain taqwa. Now, taqwa, even if you haven't understood the whole concept of taqwa, of God consciousness and piety, taqwa ultimately equals success. It's about being successful in this life and the afterlife. A person who has not attained taqwa in Ramadan, they have been unsuccessful. Now, mashallah, the brothers here and the people who watch online, I know you enough to, I could say, I know how pious you are, mashallah. You're much more pious than me. And I do look up to you, mashallah, because you teach me without you even knowing it. But we can all be that much more pious. We can all be that much more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can all be that much more closer to the sunnah. Now, I did mention before the 4 signs. I'm going to go through them once more. The first sign of taqwa is that a person or the believer always give preference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command. Always give preference to their command. I'll give you an example. When the time for prayer comes and you're doing something that can be postponed, you go to the prayer, come back to the activity you're doing. Maybe you're reading or anything. Now, we have to use some common sense. If you're driving a car, do not slam the brakes and go, oh, it's namaz time. There's a big car crash behind you. No, let's be sensible. So we always give preference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command. The second sign of taqwa or success is that the person, the believer, gives preference to the sunnah. So if you have the opportunity to follow the sunnah inwardly or outwardly, or you have the alternative option of not doing so, you go towards the sunnah. Now, I'll let you decide which sunnah you want to adopt. MashaAllah, the people I can see here and perhaps watching online, you're already following many sunnah. Ask yourself, which of the sunnah can you now follow? Always aim higher. The third thing a person will show as a sign of taqwa or a sign of success, that they will be compassionate towards creation. When I say creation, I mean the Muslims, the non-Muslims in this country, anywhere in the world, animals and plants even. We should never look upon the non-Muslims with an eye of arrogance, the eye of contentment. Just because perhaps we were born Muslims, don't think that we are any better than anyone else. Because we don't know our end state. The non-Muslims don't know their end state. When the Prophet ﷺ saw the idolaters worshipping the idols, he looked at them with the eye of compassion, the eye of love. He didn't look down upon anyone. So who are we to look down upon anyone? And I mention the animals and plants because often we forget that these two are worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Plants, we know through science, they breathe like we breathe. They react to us like. Animals, anyone here who's got a pet will testify the blessings of having animals in the house, the barakah a person gets. So that's the third sign of taqwa, the third sign of success. The fourth sign is being in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this, again, I'm going to relate back to the retreat that's upcoming in Bradford. They will go into that in a lot more detail, but to be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the prayer and outside of the prayer. You see, a lot of people, they come to the masjid, which is good for the 5 daily prayers. MashaAllah, that's a very good accomplishment. But between the prayers, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing? Are you behaving like a Muslim between the prayers? Because if you look at the 5 daily prayers, if you add up how long that takes, perhaps, maybe let's say an hour. Let's say you spend 1 hour a day in the state of the physical prayer. Ask yourself, what about the other 23 hours? Are we still in a state of worship? Or do we neglect it? Is Islam only for the masjid? Is Islam only for the prayers? And afterwards we can do whatever we wish. So these are the 4 signs of taqwa, these are the 4 signs of success after the 30-day period. And it is a 30-day period. People forget this. Purification takes time. You know, Imam al-Haddad mentions this in his book that, you know, a person can spend years upon years committing sin and doing bad things. So do not expect purification to happen overnight. Don't expect it. It can happen, I'm not denying this, but be realistic. Purification takes time, and this purification takes 30 days. Now, for anyone who lives in Hyde will know there's a water treatment plant down the road in Godley, and in fact, Ustaad is well aware because I keep mentioning this, but there's a water treatment plant down the road, United Utilities, and what do? They collect the rainwater, and they have a process of purification. So for people like me and other people living in Hyde, we can drink the water safely. Now, if that's something as simple as water takes time to purify, what about something as complicated as the soul? Do you think that's going to happen overnight, or will this also take time? So this is a 30-day process of purification. You know, there are some people I've met, unfortunately, they don't believe in tazkiyah or self-purification. Well, what do you think Ramadan is? It's a self-purification process. Ramadan itself is a purification process. So nobody can deny tazkiyah or tasawwuf. No, these things are real. So now you've been given the opportunity, inshallah, in 4 weeks to be successful. The question is, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to please people, like Sheikh Ahmad Abad teaches us? Do you want to be a people pleaser and just starve yourselves and go around with bragging rights saying, I'm fasting, look at me, how great am I? Or do you want to be a prophet pleaser? Do you want to please the Prophet ﷺ? Because if you please him, you are pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are not two separate things. They're not mutually exclusive. No, if you please the Prophet ﷺ, you are obeying the Lord of all the worlds. If you please him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everybody else will be pleased with you for the right reasons. So don't settle to be people pleasers, be a prophet pleaser. And don't ever think, mashallah, I'm seeing youngsters here, which is really encouraging and reassuring. Don't ever think because you're young, you can't do this. Yes, you can. Anybody watching online, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how big a sinner you are, do not tell yourself, oh, this is too vast a task, I can't do this. No, you can. You were chosen to witness Ramadan, inshallah. You were chosen above many people around the world. Don't ever think yourself to be negligible or nothing. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose you to be successful in this life and the next. He wants you to be not just a king or queen of any old land, he wants you to be a king or queen of an eternal empire. This has been given to you and me, so we will be fools to reject this gift of a lifetime. 3 weeks ago, there were people, we know in New Zealand, they were martyred. We know this. And of course, there are people around the world in Palestine and Syria, they're being martyred everywhere. But I'm using this as an example because it was much more publicized than other countries. There were people in New Zealand who were martyred on that Friday prayer, during the Friday prayer. They never ever thought perhaps they would never see Ramadan again. Their families would never think this. These people were martyred, they were shaheed, and we know, according to authentic hadith, that the shaheed, they will say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please send us back to the earth so we can worship you one more time. One more time. So we have to treat this Ramadan like it's our final Ramadan. Inshallah it won't be, but have this mentality that you're going to make the most of this. You are going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are going to please the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're going to be compassionate towards creation. And speaking of creation, Hazrat Sahab, they mentioned a hadith where there was a Sahabi, Hazrat Sufian, and once they were in the jungle, and walking through the jungle, a lion came towards this particular Sahabi, and the lion looked at the Sahabi, obviously, as a lion looks at a person, as food perhaps. Now, Hazrat Sufian, they said to the lion, I once served the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What did the lion do? The lion bowed down their head, walked towards Sahabi and kissed their feet. This is the honor of a person who wants to please the Prophet ﷺ. This is the honor of the person who wants to serve him. And even though we cannot serve him physically, we can still honor him by honoring his sunnah. Because you cannot honor the Prophet ﷺ by dishonoring his teachings. You cannot honor the Prophet ﷺ by dishonoring his teachings. It cannot be done. So this is the status of someone who serves him, someone who serves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I began this bayan with an overview as to fasting and where it lies with Islam, and we said it's one of the 5 pillars. Now, you have the 5 pillars. Does anybody here give me the full 5 now, please? I've given you the 4th one, obviously. Anyone give me the 5 pillars, please? Don't all shout out at once. Right. The 5 pillars. Okay, you have the declaration of faith. Obviously, you have the prayer. You have the 4th one, which is fasting. The 5th one is Hajj. The 3rd one. Anyone give me the 3rd one then? At least give me one. Sorry? Zakat. Right. Now, obviously, Zakat and Hajj, there are certain legal rulings for those who can afford to pay the Zakat and those who can afford to do the Hajj. But let's just look at the 5. Now, I've given you the keys to the 4th, fasting, Sawm, which anybody can do past the age of puberty. What do you have when you have the 5 pillars? You get a fist. But with this spiritual fist, you can knock down any opponent. Nobody, no thing can stand in your way once you have this spiritual fist. Shaitan himself cannot stand in your way. The Shaitan himself cannot stand in the way of the awliya. We know Sayyidina Umar radhiyallahu anhu, when he used to walk down one path, the Prophet ﷺ said, Shaitan walks down another path, he couldn't even stand in front of him. This is how powerful fasting can be. If you do it correctly, you get this spiritual fist. The Shaitan cannot stand in your way, your ego cannot stand in your way, your base desires cannot stand in your way, your caprice cannot stand in your way. Who's going to stand in your way? Even if Shaitan stands in the way of a person who has all these 5, he better wake up and apologize. He cannot stand in the way of the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's impossible. It cannot be done. So ask yourself, do you want this spiritual fist? I mean, think about the fist. Look at Muhammad Ali. He once said that, how can I lose with the tools I use? He said this. He was talking about physical boxing, but he said, how can I lose with the tools I use? And he went on to elaborate, he said, how can I lose when God is in my corner? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is behind you, how can you lose? It's impossible. You will be successful. And one of the keys to success is fasting, because fasting will get you taqwa. To be pious, to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to be successful. You see, the Quranic verse I used to open this bayan, I'm going to read an English translation now, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Baqarah, verse 183, that fasting has been prescribed to you as those before you, so that you may attain taqwa. Meaning, fasting was prescribed to the other prophets, such as Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, and all the prophets before, but now it's been given to us. We are the ummah of the final messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The question is, what are we going to do about it? If I've said anything that's benefited you, then all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only the mistakes have been mine. Subhanaka wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.
Jazakallah khair to Ustad Sufian for reminding us on the benefits of this month that we are currently in, and also the benefits of the month of Ramadan and the benefits of fasting. So now we know what the benefits are. How do we achieve this? Do we enter the month of Ramadan like we always enter this blessed month, just stroll in, or do we do some prep? How do we prepare? By following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So because of this reason, to save mankind, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave various teachings in many books, all the sayings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But now, how do we compile this to find what our purpose of life is, and how do we achieve this? A course of self-purification known as Tariqa Muhammadiyya is taught here and in other centres across the world. It's not just exclusively to UK or to Hyde or to Manchester. It's being taught all over the world, and people are benefiting. If people are benefiting in, let's say, in the remote parts of Morocco, then why can't we benefit here? If people are benefiting in Pakistan or in Canada also, then why can't we benefit? So please approach myself. I will point you in the right direction of the halaqah or the small circle that will be taking place. And even if we have started this course, but maybe we have been lacking motivation, maybe we are not doing our amals, or we are not taking our sheets, we are just turning up to the majlis. Alhamdulillah, we have a good intention to start, but it's getting overwhelming for us. Also, please approach myself. There are qualified ustads here who can deal with any questions. So also the teacher Sheikh Ahmed Dabag is currently in Indonesia, where they are a keynote speaker for an international conference taking place there. Also a spiritual retreat will be taking place in Bradford on the 19th to the 21st, called the Unveilings of the Unseen. Now, what is this Unveilings of the Unseen? We hear and we experience people saying, prove there is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prove to me that angels exist. If I meet the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or if I meet the pious people, then I will believe. So for this reason, there are these spiritual retreats taking place. One is in Bradford on the 19th to the 21st, where a person can see and taste this, where a person can meet the pious people, experience the grave world, communicate and experience and see angels, and maybe even meet the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All these are possibilities that can take place. So if person wants any information, or they want to register, please approach Brother Omer or Brother Afzal to register with them, inshallah. On the 25th of April, for a week, the teacher will travel for an international dawah tour to Tanzania and to Turkey as well, where the teacher will be also delivering keynote speeches. If we think about it, the teacher is now going all over the world, delivering these keynote speeches in Tanzania, Turkey, on all over the world. But really, we should be the one benefiting. If we have been on the course, let's say now we've been one of our staff for about 10 years, 5 years, 2 years. People have started to realize and experience the teachings of Sheikh Ahmed Dabbagh, and we should also do this as well. So if a person wants more information, then please keep yourself posted on the Sheikh Ahmed Dabbagh Facebook page. And for those who cannot share, those who cannot sacrifice their time or their wealth, then please like and share. Like and share. Why did the Prophet ﷺ, why did they go through this difficulty? Why have the awliya Allah gone through great difficulty? It's so the message can reach us today. So we can have the purpose of life. So we can have a method in which we can purify ourselves. So please like and share, and we can partake in this great sunnah also. Also, there is a possibility for a dawah tour happening in the USA at the end of June or the start of July. If you would like to partake in this, then please give your names to Brother Shamsher or Brother Javed. Also, there will be a speech happening in this Zawiya on this Sunday after Maghrib. So please also benefit, please also come and benefit, inshallah. And lastly, there will be a dawah trip to Bradford to advertise for the retreat this coming weekend. If you want more information, please contact Brother Javed or Brother Shamsher. Now, if you can, inshallah, stand and let some blood flow to your legs. The majlis of zikr will now take place. When the zikr is going on, inshallah, please try to follow the Ustad who will be leading the zikr majlis. But before you do that, please rectify any your intentions and refresh them, and for the sake and pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Refresh the 3 keys that a person is doing it for the sake and pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, watching me and hearing me. Inshallah, now you may be seated. Again, just to refresh, be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by refreshing the 3 keys that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, watching me and hearing me. And also please come forward as well, and straighten the semicircle out. Yeah, that's fine. Forward and back. Yeah, inshallah. Anyone at the back there also? Yeah. So first is rectify the intention for the sake of pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and refresh the 3 keys. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, watching me and hearing me. Jazakallah khair.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد صدق الله العظيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم. محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله إلا الله إلا الله إلا الله إلا الله 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 لا مقصود إلا الله لا مقصود إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا مقصود إلا الله لا مقصود إلا الله لا مقصود إلا الله 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 لا مطلوب إلا الله لا مطلوب إلا الله لا مطلوب إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حسبي ربي جل الله حسبي ربي جل الله ما في قلبي غير الله حسبي ربي جل الله ما في قلبي غير الله ما في قلبي غير الله حسبي ربي جل الله ما في قلبي غير الله نور محمد صلى الله نور محمد صلى الله حسبي ربي جل الله ما في قلبي غير الله نور محمد صلى الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله أول آخر ہے اللہ اول آخر ہے اللہ لا الہ الا اللہ لا الہ إلا الله حسبي ربي جل الله ما في قلبي غير الله نور محمد صلى الله لا إله إلا 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 الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنت المولى أنت الحق ليس المولى إلا هو أنت المولى أنت الحق ليس المولى إلا هو أنت المولى أنت الحق ليس المولى إلا هو لا إله إلا هو لا إله إلا هو لا إله إلا هو لا إله إلا هو محمد رسول الله صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد 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 صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه أستغفر الله العظيم الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه توبة عبد ظالم لنفسه لا يملك لنفسه موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحابه وسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين يا رب لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك يا رب لك الشكر كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك يا رب العالمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. We thank you that you enable us to sit here for a short while to remember and listen to some nasiha regarding the purpose of Ramadan and how we can benefit ourselves. Ya Rabbil Alameen, bless us, enable us to prepare for the month of Ramadan in the best possible way and help us to attain the fruits of Ramadan. Ya Rabbil Alameen, please enlighten us and decorate our hearts with your love and the love of the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, love of the awliya and salihin, and the love of ibadah and worship, the love to be in your presence, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, Rahman Rahim, our heart are dead, our minds are dead. We heed these people, we're sinning from head to toe, full of sins, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Please forgive us for all of our sins, enable us all to rectify ourselves, rectify our intention, rectify our hearts, and change them, Ya Rabbal Alameen, towards your love, towards your rida, Ya Rabbal Alameen, and not the rida of the self and the rida of the dunya. Ya Allah, Rahman Rahim, help us to help one another to strive in your cause and your ways, and enable us all to convey this message, the beautiful message of Islam and Deen, to ourselves first and foremost, and then to our families and friends, and to the whole of our locality and whole of the world. Ya Rabbal, bless our mashayikh, bless our teachers, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Shaykh Ahmadabad, they are all around throughout the world, they spread the message, Ya Rabbal, tirelessly. Ya Rabbal Alameen, grant them comfort and ease in every single way, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Envelop them from left and right, from above, from every single direction with comfort and ease, and remove any difficult hardship they may suffer, Ya Rabbal, throughout their journeys. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman Rahim, please utilize us and facilitate us to be the facilitator of the message of the Deen. Help us to propagate as many people as possible, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman Rahim, help us and grant us your salvation in this life as well as akhir, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Enable us to remember death and help us to prepare for death, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Grant Shifa Kamala to all those brothers and sisters who are well, who are ill, who are bedridden, who are in hospital, who are cancer and disease, Ya Rabbal Alameen. You're the one who can grant Shifa to anyone, Ya Rabbal Alameen. When you say for it to be granted, Ya Rabbal Alameen, nothing can stop it. Wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqihi Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin.